Oh, yeah, that's nice. You have chairs here. Excellent. Angry Joe here, and I'm with Scott Phillips, the design director on the brand new Saints Row 4. So, I got some questions for you. I was a huge fan of the Saints Row series. Saints Row 1, Saints Row 2. Saints Row 3, I believe I gave about a 6 out of 10. I felt it started to stray just a little bit. I mean, it seems like you were embracing the wackiness, which is good because Saints Row 2 had that. But I think it lost a little bit of the story elements to it, the smartness in the writing, and it just basically was going for shock value. So I'm wondering, is Saints Row 4 going to be more like Saints Row 2, or is it going to be more like Saints Row 3?
It depends on what aspect you're talking about, what area of the game. I mean that's an interesting comment because I think most of the team from Saints Row 1 worked on Saints Row 2, that worked on Saints Row 3, that now works on Saints Row 4. So it's not as if, someone new came in and said, "No, we're changing direction completely." It was more of just like as the series has developed, we've grown and changed and not wanted to just repeat ourselves over and over again. So I think 4 is a good combination. You're definitely going to see a lot of characters from past Saints Row, so I think there's a lot of fan service to, both in gangs and in individuals.
Johnny Gad, is he somehow going to come back from the dead again?
We love Gat. It was
You got to kill my favorite character, man.
no, that was absolutely a difficult decision. It was absolutely something that within the team internally there was a lot of like, why are you doing this? So yeah, we're huge fans of Gat, and there's always a possibility of that we'll do something with Gat.
Well, when I was talking earlier about is it more like Saints Row 2 or is it more or Saints Row 2 or 3 is the story. Even though the game was wacky in 2, the story was really good. I mean, it had really interesting aspects. There was drama, there was betrayal. There's all these different things in it. And I think in Saints Row 3, people got a little disappointed because the story was a little lackluster. You combined all the separate gangs that you can fight all into like one or two gangs, and there really wasn't any variation there. So that's kind of what we were talking about. Can you talk a little bit about the story this time and whether you think, it's an improvement?
Well, sure, I think it's an improvement. I mean, I think personally, I think the third was better than 2. Obviously I'm biased.
Disagree.
Obviously I'm biased. I worked on the game. I was the design director on Saints Row 3. I think what we did with 3 was try to set a very specific tone for the game. Coming off of 2, like I personally felt that we had a disjoint tone in the game, that we had all this wackiness in the gameplay, but then we had you mercy kill Carlos partway through the game, like to
Get best of both worlds. Now you've gone just one side.
well, it was an intentional decision. I stand by it. I think it was the right decision. But yeah, it was very intentional to say, this game is about our mantra, which is embrace the crazy, fun trumps all. And that's the sort of the way we approach everything in the game. The design, the story, the art, everything is a little bit over the top. The story of Saints Row 4 is mostly about the Zin attacking Earth. The player becomes the president of the United States, which is sort of our amping up. In the third, you were a celebrity, so now this time you're the president.
That's cool. Really awesome.
Yeah, it seemed like why that you got to be the most powerful. Like, where do you take a step from being a celebrity? Well, you become the president. So.
Most powerful man in the world.
Exactly, and you do that both figuratively and literally because you get superpowers in Saints Row 4. So you're running around the city, you're jumping over buildings, you're picking people up with your mind, you're freezing people, you're stomping them into the air, you're slamming down into the ground at 90 miles an hour and blowing everything up.
Yeah, I've seen some of the demo videos, and while I was a little hesitant about Saints Row 4, it actually kind of blew me away. I was really happy to see that you've got new fresh stuff coming. Okay, we got superpowers in here, so I'm a huge fan of Superman. We really haven't had that great of a Superman game yet, so hopefully this open world experience with superpowers can sort of emulate that. Now I'm wondering a little bit about customization items. So if you want to be a superhero, maybe I can dress up as a superhero. Maybe not specifically somebody in particular, but how much better is the customization in Saints Row 4 than it was in 3? Is there layered clothing, things like that?
The core functionality hasn't changed. It's been about adding assets. So if you have a character from Saints Row the Third that you've uploaded to the community site, you can go into Saints Row 4 and you can download that character, and you'll get all of those options and all those clothes back. It's been
No improvements then?
It's been about assets. Like, our focus this game was about content, was about getting you more rather than because what we did on the third was we had to change. We made a lot of improvements by, it gets into technical stuff, but essentially because we had a male and female structures, the skeleton that runs the characters in Saints Row 3, which we didn't have in 2, so everybody walked the same, everybody looked like a male. With Saints Row 3, women walk like women, men walk like men, and to do that, we had to change a lot of things, which led to that we had to sort of consolidate the clothing, and it couldn't become the layered stuff that we had in 2.
Is that carrying over, man and male and female?
Absolutely, yeah. So you can be a male and female. You can select your voice. You can select your taunt and your compliment and all that stuff. So customizing yourself is still fantastic.
Be a female president in Saints Row 4. Now, another thing, were you just saying, you're mentioning that you're adding assets, so I guess you do add some clothes to broaden the customization options, but no real actual changes there. One of the criticisms I've heard about the game is that this is essentially just the DLC expansion remade into and then slapped with a number 4 on there. Do you want to speak to that, maybe dispel any rumors about that?
Absolutely, yeah. Saints Row 4 actually started with a core team before Saints Row the Third had finished. So this game has actually been in development for more than 2 years. What happened was we were both building Enter the Dominatrix and Saints Row 4 at the same time. And what we felt when we got to the end of Enter the Dominatrix was this is not really hitting the quality bar that we wanted. So let's take those things and pull them into Saints Row 4, make it a bigger game, and get those superpowers and rework the missions. We completely threw away the story. We threw away all the cutscenes that were done, and we rebooted essentially to pull that stuff into Saints Row 4. So Saints Row 4 is a much bigger game than it was initially planned to be, even as the 2-year project. So it's been in development for quite a while.
Now, can we talk a little bit about multiplayer? Are you adding multiplayer again, keeping it out, and perhaps co-op?
Yeah, co-op is absolutely back. It's the same drop-in, drop-out, seamless co-op throughout the entire campaign. So it's still that great experience. The best way to play is absolutely on co-op. And we've added a couple of new things that were in. We've modified them, I guess, from what was in Saints Row 2. We had Cat and Mouse and Death Tag. Those are both there for co-op. But now with the superpowers, they're even more fun because with Death Tag, you essentially each get superpowers, and then you're told to kick each other's asses, and we keep score. So that's fantastic. And friendly fire, you can grief each other and all that sort of good fun. So everything is supported with co-op. Multiplayer we don't have. We made that decision very early on Saints Row the Third that we are a limited team. We don't have 600 people to make this game. We need to choose where we're going to put our effort, and that effort was in the single player and in the co-op campaign.
Okay, and then let's talk just a little bit about the length of the campaign. I believe that the third game was a little bit shorter than the second game. Are we looking, because you're adding assets, you're adding content, are we going to see a longer game than Saints Row 3, a longer experience with twists, turns, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Saints Row 4 is definitely a longer game. We've been finding in playtests we've been running that it takes people about, this is all subjective because it's an open world game. You could go do this, you could do that. Yeah, it's very different, but it takes people roughly 4 days of 8-hour days to be.
But do you have like an hour mark, like 40 hours, 30 hours?
They're playing 8 hours a day, but that
seems pretty substantial.
Yeah, it's pretty long, and I think we've tried to make everything we can as cool.
But that's all the content, not just the story mode. That's like all the side
open world stuff as well. So it's hard to gauge with open world games. Like I've always heard the QA can speed run Skyrim in 3 hours, but like nobody plays that game in 3 hours. Like why would you do that? Yeah, exactly. So I think with us it's a similar thing where QA can speed run the game super fast, but then like why are you even playing it? Like just play the experience that we built, and I think people will really enjoy it.
Okay, well, is there anything else that you'd like to emphasize that your team has put a lot of emphasis into that you just want people to know that's going to be in Saints Row 4?
Absolutely. Well, I think the superpowers are the core feature. I think we've delivered on the best superpowered game there is. I think
It's not unexpected.
It's for Saints Row, absolutely. But the thing is, like, we deliver the best superpowered game, but we do it with our sort of flavor, our tone, and so it's a fun experience. And the core thing about Saints Row is it's that game that you can come home and play and just have a good time with, messing around with peds and feeling like you're always being rewarded by the game. Like, we're not pushing you not to do something. We're out there saying, yes, do more of that. That's great. Have fun. Beat up on people. Hit them with things. Like, it's just fun. It's a good release, and that's what Saints Row is really about. We're the counterpoint to a lot of these very serious games. We are a video game. We are there for fun.
That sounds great. And hell, if the superpowers work out, maybe you can talk a little bit with Warner Brothers or something, and maybe do this guy justice or something. Well, go ahead and tell us what the release date is going to be and what platforms the game is going to be out on.
Sure. Saints Row 4 is out on August 20th on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC.
Okay, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us, and we'll see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show.
I picked the right running mate.
Damn right.
You're beautiful.
Thanks.
Us talking to the robot.
Free Space. We ever going to see another one?
Dude, we internally we talk about that every time there's a
I will give you money. How about Kickstart it, dude? I'm all about Kickstart.
Every time there's a company meeting, that question comes up. But the problem is we don't own the rights. We don't own the IP. Interplay has owned it since THQ bought Volition, so like 10 or 12 years ago. So yeah, it's.
You would totally have my support. I'll throw the whole Angry Army behind that if it ever happens.
We would love to make it, but we can't.
Okay, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. So for those of you who don't know, Free Space and Free Space 2 are some of the best space combat games ever, and I'm a huge fan of space combat. You know, I supported Star Citizen. I would love to see Free Space come back. We discussed it a little bit more off camera, and essentially, you know, Interplay owns it, and they're literally just a pack of lawyers now. It's not really, Interplay is no longer really making games, so really sucks. Hopefully eventually they'll let go of that or give it to somebody that can do something with the Free Space license. But so that's my interview on Saints Row 4. The gameplay, I got a little bit of hands-on. It is fun. It's definitely fun, and I hope that this new direction, this new story, sort of focuses the team's efforts to making the story not just wacky and fun and outrageous and things like that, but also, you know, interesting and has a little bit of emotional impact that we were missing. But I guess we'll see in the review. Oh, and I'm sorry about the microphone thing. That was like the only place at E3 that had like the perfect setup. You know, they had lighting, chairs, everything. I really should have put on my shotgun mic attachment there, but you know, but pretty much every single other review is the crazy guerrilla style review. So that was one where I actually got to, you know, kind of calm myself and ask questions very quietly and seriously. So that was a good change of pace. You'll see from the other interviews how wildly different that one was. But all right, guys, I'll see you on the next Angry Joe Show.